The cell was small, cold, barely enough for her to stretch her wings. Zalatha of the Eridari, once a winged warrior of the Scarvani ascendancy, now sat chained in a human military detention center. Her black-feathered wings hung limply, ragged and dull from neglect. Scars slashed across her arms and sides from battles she could no longer remember. Her spirit, once unbreakable, now flickered like the last embers of a dying fire. The war had turned. The humans had proven more adaptable than any of the Ascendancy had anticipated. The Ascendancy's commanders laughed when Earth was first targeted. Primitive, disorganized, emotion-driven. The humans had responded with brutal cunning and unshakable resolve. And now Zalatha, one of their elite vanguard commanders, was just another prisoner. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. She didn't look up. Another interrogator. Another drone with a voice like glass and needles. But it wasn't a drone. It was warm. He stopped at her door, keyed in a code, and the locks disengaged with a sigh. The door creaked open. "Zalatha," the man said gently. She didn't lift her head. Her tangled hair hid her face. "My name's Lieutenant Darren Hale. I'm with the Interstellar Prisoner Affairs Division. I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't speak. Not that first day. He came back again. And again. He brought a light. Real food. A folded blanket. Then he brought conversation. At first, Zalatha hated him for the softness in his voice. For the way he sat outside the bars instead of pacing like the others. For the warmth in his hazel eyes. "Do you miss home?" he asked once. She looked up then for the first time in weeks. He didn't flinch at the sight of her. At the sharp curve of her talons, the unnatural gleam of her eyes, or the heavy black chains that clamped around her wings. "Home is gone," she rasped. He nodded as if he understood. Maybe he did. Weeks passed. Zalatha healed. Slowly. She still didn't trust him. Not fully. But she began to speak more. She told him of Eridar, of the great cliffs of the northern ridges, where her people learned to fly before they could walk. Of the Bone Singers, the ancient female warriors who carved truth into the stones with wing claws and voice. Of the war machine that devoured her world in the name of conquest. And Hale listened, always listening, never judging. "You were following orders," he said one night. "No," Zalatha whispered. "I believed in them. That's worse." He didn't argue. He simply reached through the bars and placed a calloused hand on hers. And she didn't pull away. Then came the transfer order. "All high-value prisoners are to be relocated," barked the station commander. "We're pulling out. The sector's collapsing." Hale fought the order. "She's not a threat. She's not even a soldier anymore. Let me move her to the civilian refugee section." But command was firm. Zalatha was still a symbol, too dangerous to release. That night, Hale slipped into her cell. "You need to go," he said, hushed. "I'm chained," she replied. He pulled a data spike from his coat and jammed it into the wrist shackle interface. Sparks danced. The manacles clattered to the floor. "What are you doing?" she asked, stunned. "Getting you out. They'll treat you like an animal in the new facility." "Why would you do this?" He looked her in the eyes. "Because no one saved my sister when she was captured in the early days of the war. 'Cause I'm tired of watching people break. And because I think you still have something worth saving." Zalatha stared at him. No one had said anything like that to her since she'd been taken. Not even her own kind. "Come with me," he said. And she did. They ran. Through the underbelly of the base. Past security drones and patrols. Hale knew every blind spot, every maintenance shaft. He led her to a cargo shuttle bound for a neutral zone, one of the outer worlds no longer claimed by either faction. They barely made it aboard. Zalitha watched as Earth's orbital platform faded behind them, its defensive rings glowing ominously. "You've just branded yourself a traitor," she said. "I know," he answered. The neutral world was a shattered moon called Varine's Rest. Deserted mining stations. Broken atmospheric scrubbers. No law. No war. They settled in a half-collapsed shelter built into the cliffs. Zalitha never asked why he stayed. And Hale never asked her to go. They learned to live with the silence. And over time, silence became peace. One night, while Zalitha was outside tending to a solar panel, she collapsed. Hale rushed to her. Her skin was fevered, her breaths ragged. "Poison," she gasped. "The chains. They were laced." He carried her inside, cradling her broken body. Her wings trembled as if the very bone beneath them was splintering. For 2 days she hovered near death. Hale never left her side. He held her hands, washed her wounds, injected every serum he could find in the old medkits. And when she woke, she saw him slumped beside her bed, asleep in a chair. She reached out, touched his hair. Human, fragile, loyal. Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time in her life, she wept not for defeat or shame, but for the unexpected ache of being cared for. The seasons passed. Zalitha's wings never fully recovered. She could glide sometimes in strong winds. But flight, true flight, was gone. Still she found something else. In the small garden they grew together. In the laughter when he tried to cook eridari root fruit and nearly set the pan on fire. In the soft silences at dusk, where her head would rest on his shoulder and his hand would find hers without words. She began to smile again. Not often, but real. One morning, a ship landed near the base. Not human, not ascendancy. Independent traders. Scavengers. They offered Hale safe passage in exchange for information. He refused. One of them, a tall, cyber-modded merc, turned to Zalitha. "You're eridari. That bounty on your head is still active, you know." Before she could speak, Hale stepped between them. "She's not going anywhere." The merc sneered. "And what'll you do about it, soldier?" Zalitha answered. Her wing blade, rusted but deadly, swept through the air like a silver arc of judgment. She moved like lightning. The merc hit the ground in seconds. The others fled. Later, Hale examined the wound on her arm where a shot had grazed her. "You didn't have to fight for me," he said. She looked at him, eyes fierce. "You gave me back my life. I will never let them take yours." The war ended. Years later, a treaty signed. Boundaries redrawn. The galaxy moved on. No one came looking for Zalitha anymore. And Hale's name faded from the wanted registries. Lost in bureaucracy and time. They could have left Varine's Rest. But they didn't. They built a home in the cliffs. Raised crops. Traded minerals with distant travelers. Zalitha grew flowers along the edge of the rocks. Wild, bright things that bloomed in the crimson dust. One night, under the glow of twin moons, she stood with Hale at the edge of the cliff. Her wings stretched behind her like dark sails in the wind. "You saved me," she whispered. "I didn't save you," he said. "I just gave you a chance." She turned to him, her eyes shining. "And in your arms, I found something I never thought I'd see again." "Hope?" he asked. She leaned in, kissed him softly, her lips brushing his with the lightness of feathers. "Yes,